Have you ever wondered what it's like working down a coal mine? What was it like during Victorian times in the Industrial Revolution, when life was cheap and coal was king? Isaac was a proud Welshman. He was born in 1825 to a mining family in Mold in North Wales. By the age of 15, he was already working down the mine with his father and his older brother, Edward.
At the age of 15 years, with my father close to tears, as he vowed ne'er again to send his sons. In the darkness of the mine, where you age before your time, and the cold dust lies heavy on your lungs. It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, and I swear to God if I ever see the sun, or for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind, I never again will go down underground. At the age of 40,
when he was 21, he married Sarah. She was a young woman from another mining family, and by the age of 35, they had a fine brood of 5 children. For Isaac, life would have been hard, working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He'd be working on his side or on his knees, working by the light of a candle in cramped, dirty conditions. The heat would have been unbearable, and the dust would have filled his lungs. As the water seeped through the rock, the dampness would have got to his bones, and every day he was in danger of flooding or explosion. There was a lot of industrial unrest around Buckley collieries in the late 19th century. In 1864, when miners went on strike because of falling wages, the leaders were sentenced to a month in prison with hard labour. The miners objected, and they rioted at Mould Station, and a detachment of soldiers was brought in, and they fired on the crowd. They killed 5 rioters and spectators. During this time, Isaac was working hard. He was a zealous member of chapel, and he became a church deacon. 20 years on, Isaac became a mine manager. He was responsible for both the Elm and the Maesreig pits. But unfortunately, coal prices and wages tumbled again. The miners came out on strike, and it was a strike which turned out to be long and bitter. Their argument was with John Watkinson, the mine owner. He was unbending and cruel in his attitude towards the workers, and Isaac was caught in the middle as the mine manager. Several months later, as the cold weather set in, food became scarce and families fell ill. Watkinson refused to make any concessions, and the strike ended in total surrender. The men had to go back to work on an even lower wage. Just 3 years later, Isaac died at the age of 63. As Isaac was growing up, Ellen was living in Billinge near Wigan. At 21, she did well by marrying Thomas, who was a joiner. He would have worked building, repairing and renovating structures at the mines. It was a qualified and skilled trade that took many years to learn. But in 1839, at just the age of 42, Thomas died. Ellen was left widowed with 5 children, the youngest of whom was just 5 years old.
Well, hush, little babby, dinna ye cry, for the sun and the moon's tumble down from the sky. And your dad's away, he will not come back, for he died down the mine when the timbering cracked. And the people who walk about never ask why, that the rich one should live and your poor daddy die. And if they should ask me, well, I'll only cry at the sun and the moon's tumble down from the sky. Sometimes he was bad,
I work from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. Stop about an hour at noon to eat my dinner, which is just bread and butter. I get no drink. I have a belt round my waist and a chain passing between my legs, and I go on my hands and feet. The road is very steep, and we have to hold by a rope, when there is no rope by anything we can catch hold of. The pit is very wet where I work, and the water comes over our clog tops all the time. I've seen it up to my thighs. It rains in at the roof terribly, and my clothes are wet through almost all day long. I'm very tired when I get home at night. I fall asleep sometimes before I get washed. I have drawn until I have bathed skin off me, but the belt and chain is worse for them that's in the family way. I know a woman who's gone home, washed herself, taken to her bed, delivered a child, and gone to work again under the week.
The only choice left for Ellen was to go and work in the mines, where she worked as a coal drawer. She pulled truckloads of coal from the coal seam to the surface. Women and children were used for this job because the tunnels were so small and narrow they could be as low as 16 inches high. In 1842, just 3 years after Ellen was forced to work down the mines, a royal commission banned all women and children under the age of 12 from working underground. Why did they do that? What was the reason? Did they think it was immoral to make small children and women work in such dreadful conditions? No. The reason was a quite different form of morality. Respectable Victorians were shocked when they heard that women worked half naked alongside men, who were often working completely naked in the hot, wet conditions. When this new ruling came in, many women were distraught. How could they make a living now? How Ellen earned her living until her death in 1850 is unclear.
You'll be wisest of all. Then go out and tell all those foolish ones why, that the rich one should live and your poor daddy die. And we'll stand up together, and with our heads held up high, I will put back the sun and the moon in the sky.
It's sobering to think of how difficult their lives were, especially when you think that Isaac was my great-great-grandfather and Ellen was my great-great-grandmother.